she did what she saw what she wanted, and she went for it. And it's
How long ago was this?
4 years. I mean, just over 4 years ago.
So she has about 4 years training?
Yeah.
Wow.
But she's a machine. She trains more than I do, you know, and she's
really something.
She's training twice a day sometimes, you know, 3 times a day in some cases. So.
I saw her at your gym, and she took off her gi top, and she was wearing a tank top, and I was like, damn. I go, man, some DNA right there. I put my shirt back on.
Yeah, she's a great coach. She's learned how to be a coach too now, and so she's learned how to sacrifice her time a little bit. And I think on occasion she's been training with one of the local UFC fighters, Marion Renault, who's
Momo,
up and coming. Yeah, Mo. She's been up and coming.
Ness has a good open mind. It seems like she goes around and she's willing to learn from anybody.
Yeah,
she's loyal to you guys, of course, but she's willing to, you know, keep that mind open and learn from anybody.
Yeah, it's the way it should be. You know, it's just like you know, my black belt Dan Cameron, his brother Dave. You know, one of his catchphrases is, you know, train with everyone. Actually, I was going to wear that shirt today, but it was in the laundry, so I didn't wear it.
You got this fine Vitruvian martial arts shirt.
Yeah, I wore my gym shirt here. This is actually Fabian's fight shirt. You know, it has his logo on the back. One of our MMA fighters that just.
How do you pronounce his last name so I don't murder it?
Luvano.
Luvano. You guys probably saw Fabian Luvano. He just fought recently at the Tachi.
He fought Garrett Marks.
Tough
awesome
opponent.
Stand-up war. And you know, he put in a lot of work. You know, he didn't come in with all this talent and wrestling background and striking background. He came in raw, man. You know, he had a little striking that he had done over in Exeter when we were training with a Samurai Dojo group, and then
was he around back then?
He was around back then, man.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, his amateur record shows you just like he's not, you know, he's not this great, awesome fighter from the get-go. I mean, he was like, you know, his record was like 6-3 or something, you know. I'm sorry, 3-6, you know, like a losing record. Then he comes into pro to make his pro debut and did such an awesome job, like turning the switch, you know. So I thought that was really cool. And we've got some other fighters. He's actually the only pro fighter that we have that's active. As far as amateur fighters go, we have some up and coming guys. You know, we have there's Chris Castro. He's a lightweight guy. Miguel. Kid's last name, I can't remember, but he's 1-0. And then a guy, there's one kid that you might know, been fighting since he was like 18, maybe younger, probably not quite sanctioned fights, but JJ Madrid, he's coming up. I believe we're going to try and get him pro here pretty quick. And
he might have a couple backyard fights.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe. Something like that.
Maybe a couple alley brawls.
That's when he was with Chino, you know, and
he didn't start any of them. He was just there.
And then we have another guy named Jeremy. He trains just his striking with Marty, and I think he's like 3-1, something like that. He's starting to make some waves in the amateur division as well. But
do you guys focus a lot on MMA there, Mark, or are you more jiu-jitsu based?
We focus. We try to focus a little more on jiu-jitsu, but you know, I don't turn away the MMA guys, just because, you know, I fought MMA and I love MMA, and I really like seeing our guys go from the beginning, like a fresh seedling of no knowledge, into amateurs and then into pro. You know, it's really cool to see those kind of people stay with us and have that loyalty and
definitely
and continue their journey with us. It's really rewarding to see.
Do you have some students that have been with you along this whole route?
Well, you know,
like from Exeter till now?
Julian Medrano, he's one of our black belts. You know, he's never left my side, man. He stayed with me. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu. He has a lot more jiu-jitsu knowledge than I do in certain areas. You know, I'm not afraid to admit that. You know, he's a really good practitioner. As far as the students go, you know, Fabian's one of them. You know, he started with us over in Exeter when I was with Scott Harper down there. There was just a karate school. I was doing a jiu-jitsu program there. He's been with us since the beginning, and I think there's another jiu-jitsu guy, Javon Glover, he's purple belt. You know, he's been training a long time. You know, some people take.
He's really good. I saw him.
He's getting there, man. You know, some people really it takes longer than others. You know, not everyone's going to be a world champion in 4.5 years. You know, that's just not everyone's DNA. But you know,
how many years have you been training jiu-jitsu now?
I'm one of those guys that's wasn't in my DNA, and I'm forcing it in. You know, so for me, you know, I've been doing it like, going on 16 years now.
Now we'll hop in Tio's time machine here. Like right now, you know, in Visalia, in the local area, there's some really good jiu-jitsu schools, like Mark's school is one of them, Elite. You guys know there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu schools, but if we go back like 10 years, we were training in a small little room, sometimes a garage, and we were all kind of in one room, but it was way different. And we worked back in the day at a nightclub called Bogart and Lulu's. And
here we go.
Yeah, before there was like, you know, the Camarillo Jiu-Jitsu and Elite Jiu-Jitsu here, we had like a guy named Mike Sir, and he was kind of teaching bar Jiu-Jitsu. It was like,
you know, he did go to Brazil and win the
yeah, he did.
Win a
he
blue
did.
belt world championship.
He had skill. Mike had skill.
You couldn't go to the worlds here in the States. You had to go to Brazil
to
do the worlds back then.
So, just to talk a little bit about that, because I think we were all blue belts. Blue belts was like blue belt was the highest level in the school at that time. And you actually started teaching as a blue belt, right?
I did, and now that's frowned upon, which is so funny, you know. Yeah,
it is frowned upon now.
Yeah, it is frowned upon. You know,
we didn't have anything else back then, so you know, we would travel around and pick
a lot of
pieces.
people who train jiu-jitsu now, they really have it easy. You know, they're these big academies with they got Tom Knox at Elite, and I'm under Dan Camarillo and I'm in Visay as well, and you got PMA, Matt Smith, and all those guys, Jason Hannon, Sale Perales, and
it's like McDonald's.
Greg Ashbury, all these black belts, they're all, and Dave and Dan, and back then when I started jiu-jitsu, Dave and Dan were like, I think Dave might have been a brown belt and Dan was like a purple belt.
Yeah.
He was reffing my first match at PMA as a tournament. It was the only tournament around unless you went to do the Worlds.
So with that question, do you think, because back then I remember a blue belt was a real high level in jiu-jitsu. If you were a blue belt and you were competing, there's a good chance you're going to go against somebody that's been doing it for 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So is the blue belt level now, Mark? Is it different than it was back then? Do you think it's diminished a little bit, or what?
I think the blue belts now,
is it easier to get?
Depending on what school you go to, it all depends. That there can be a really huge
gap,
skill
right?
gap between the beginning blue belt and the end blue belt level,
Talk about that a bit, because that's crazy.
Well, let me just take it back a notch as far as like the training. Like back in the day, like we said, most people that were training jiu-jitsu in the Central Valley, whether it was over in Fresno, Bakersfield, Visalia, you were lucky if you had a purple belt to train with. That was like
extremely lucky if you did.
That was like you saw a purple belt. That was like a god. You didn't see black belts unless you were training.
That may sound funny, guys, but this is true.
Unless you were training with like Half Gracie, up north,
even on those mats, there was few black belts at the time.
Yeah, Crossley was still training with Dan and those guys over
Crossley
there.
was a brown belt.
BJ Penn and the first batch, Kurt Ocean, they were all training over at House. And in the Central Valley, we just had all these blue belts that were, traveling to train. I was traveling to Orange County to train with a black belt, and if I wouldn't even get to train with a black belt because I was just a white belt at the time, and I wasn't allowed to train with the black belts. They wouldn't let me roll with them. I'll just roll with blues and purple belts that were there, But at least I got to see them and take their classes and stuff. But traveling, 2.5, 3 hours just to go train, in a black belt environment or class,
You had to get out there.
Yeah, and so now, people come through the ranks a little faster than they did before, as far as.
How about the competition skill level at blue belt?
Oh man,
is it crazy?
It is crazy now, and this is why. It's because some of these blue belts, they're turning 16 and getting their blue belts because they're starting when they're like 3 and 4 years old.
You're right. That is crazy.
They're going through the ranks. As a kid, like my son's 8. He started when he was 3. Technically he started when he was in diapers. He's going to be a black belt by the time he's 18, 19 years old.
Is that how it works? Would they have to be 18 to get a black belt?
Yeah. With the IBJJF and the SJJF, it's like once the kid turns 15th or 16th birthday and they've already made it at least yellow belt, then they get their blue belt automatically as long as you're still consistently training, And that's how it works. So then you get these blue belts have been consistently training. All they know is jiu-jitsu. Technically, in my eyes, and technically sound, they're close to black belt level already, and they're in there fighting adults at blue belt. Some adult just got their blue belt, and they're getting murdered who just, there's some adult that just started jiu-jitsu, like been doing jiu-jitsu for a year, and now they got to fight a blue belt who's been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 or 13, 10 years. You know what I mean? And they're getting destroyed. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I like the Masters division, because those guys aren't in the Masters division.
Do you compete in the Masters division?
I do compete in the Masters division.
You still look like a young stud, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Hey, that's all good though, man.
For you. That's why you gotta do jiu-jitsu. That keeps you young.
This guy does do jiu-jitsu right here. This guy behind the camera, he's a little phenom.
I didn't know about him.
Yeah, we have to get him on here. You never seen Archie fight?
I have not.
Yeah, Archie's been in the ring. He's a purple belt, right, Archie? Yeah, with Tom Knox and those guys. So
okay.
After here, you guys can get a little match going. I'm just kidding. No, but that's cool, man. I've been out of the jiu-jitsu competition scene for a while. I mean, it's been a long time since I've traveled to a jiu-jitsu tournament. Like, MMA is really my favorite thing, but I always watch it online, and it seems to me like the game has really changed. I'm almost scared to go compete in the jiu-jitsu tournament because of the leg lock game, how it's changed so much. And I know you know a little bit about that. I've seen you get in there and do leg locks, but hasn't it changed quite a bit?
I'm like literally a baby when it comes to leg locks.
To the leg locks?
Like, I'm still learning,
When I see them going, I sometimes don't even understand what they're doing. I mean, you call yourself a baby, but I've seen you go in there and go right into inside heel hooks and different things. But how has it changed? Like, how back in the day everybody would just jump and pull guard. 90% of the people would pull guard. Are you seeing more judo and wrestling now?
There's more wrestling, I think, than there was in the past. Judo's still kind of like that unforeseen skill, and I don't know why it's like that, but there's just people.
It's hard to learn.
People aren't. Yeah, it's hard as hard as wrestling, and maybe harder.
I think maybe harder
because you think about the takedowns that they do over and over and over, and if you don't know how to break fall correctly, man, that is rough. But I still see people that have good judo skill do really well in competition because they get on top and they stay on top.
Who did you train? Because before you were with Dan, like back in the day, you were using some real beautiful, like seonagi, single arm throws. You were using some good judo. Who did you train with in judo in the beginning?
Tom Knox. I did.
Tom Knox.
With Tom Knox and
because you had really good throws back then.
Mike Sir. I never went to their Tom Knox's judo club, and I just trained with Mike Sir was fairly decent at judo as well. He trained with.
I thought he was very very proficient.
Yeah, and I learned from those guys, and I just kept what I had learned and just kept.
You liked it though. I could tell that you love throwing a guy.
Oh yeah, I do.
And I can see it in your face,
go
bro.
for him.
I know you would. You would always just go for it.
Yeah, and Dan's judo. His judo is just a whole nother level than I've ever seen in my life.
Second to none. Right there.
Yeah. Him and.
What's it like training with those guys?
It's awesome. There's a lot of monsters over there, man. It's just like Elite's got some monsters over there, But same thing with Dan. Dan. I love training at Dan's school. All the guys who are there are so awesome. You want to get some passive rolls, you can do that. If you want to train hard, they'll hand it to you. You want to stand up. No one over there is afraid to stand up.
But you can go. Can anybody go over there to Dan's Academy and walk in if they have the right attitude and get in there and get a class?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely, yeah.
I know Dan personally, but I know there's a lot of people. I always get questions from people all around, like, where can I start jiu-jitsu? And it's not easy for some people to walk into a martial arts school. Like, even me, after 20 years of training, I still get nervous to go down to Mark's school. I know nothing's going to happen to me when I get in there. They're all great people. But I always have, like, I had a police officer just yesterday, and, he's from the area. And he's nervous to get into a jiu-jitsu school. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is an officer of the law that's out there protecting us. And
I think for a lot of the officers, sometimes, I think it's hard for them to swallow pride. I think that's what it comes down to sometimes. They don't want to go into a jiu-jitsu school and then get kind of worked over by a young kid who's really hasn't done much other than train jiu-jitsu. And once they get past that pride point, and they learn it's not so bad. I have a lot of police officers that train over at our school, CHP,
What do you tell these guys when they come in? If they're
PD guys.
and like, if it's an officer, are you still going through the basic stuff that you would teach anyone else? or
Yeah, you know what I do? What I do at my school is I tell them, hey, don't worry about sparring or rolling. Just do the warm-ups, do the class until you feel comfortable. You're ready to jump in, let me know, and then we'll have you go with the more experienced guys. Because you know how it is. You know,
Yeah.
when you roll with the experienced people, you're less likely to get hurt than you are to roll with someone who's new and just trying to like force their technique on you and not willing to give
Don't
anything
roll with the white
up.
belt.
Yeah,
some blue
that's
belts.
kind of a rule of thumb. I think everyone at every jiu-jitsu school kind of realizes that by now, you know, so.
Don't roll with the blue belt named JJ Madrid. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. Now your guys, man. When I go into your gym, like, it's cool, man. Like, everybody has a really good attitude there. They're very respectful, and man, it's great, man. You guys are doing a good job over there. Julian Madrano is a great kids instructor. If you guys are looking for a spot to get your kid into something, and man, jiu-jitsu is so good for kids, right? It is so good for kids.
Oh, absolutely. Kids are a future, man, you know, and who wants their kid growing up and getting bullied at school? You know, I don't know if you remember back in the day, I used to bring my niece to class. She was the only little girl coming to a class with all men.
She was one of my best students ever.
Yeah, she was like 8 years old until you got your school going. She was part of your kids' class, but, you know, she was getting bullied at school. She wouldn't want to go to school. She was getting failing grades. You know, it was bad. I didn't even want to bring her to jiu-jitsu because like it's not for girls. It's not for kids. You know, I didn't know any better. I just started. You know, I didn't know. But her, you know, my sister forced me to bring her, and then that was history. And she liked it, and I was like, wow, okay. Well, then she wanted to compete. You know.
Yeah, she did really well.
Now she's, you know, she started. You know, at that time, she was happy to go to school. She confronted the bullies. She started getting honor roll. Started playing musical instruments, and now she's an accountant for a big firm over in San Francisco. You know, and if jiu-jitsu had to come into her life,
wow,
who knows what she'd be doing right now? You know, so
I know for me, like, jiu-jitsu, man, it carries through your life in a lot of different ways. Not even if you never fight or compete or do anything like that, just with relationships, with work, with anything that you might come across. Talk a little bit about that, Mark. Like, a lot of people think if they're going to do jiu-jitsu, it's just, you know, for combat or for fighting or just for self-defense. But what else can it do for a person's confidence?
Oh man, it teaches people how to deal under pressure. It's just like the military, you know, you're forced to learn and to deal with difficult situations, you know, and be able to think and make decisions under pressure. And, you know, I'm not bagging on any martial art, but in jiu-jitsu, you know, once you're trying to apply you know, a technique on someone who's resisting, and you can do it 100%. Like, what martial art can you do that and not hurt someone? You know?
What do you mean by that? Because like, if you go to a karate class,
well, if you go to, I mean, I think karate's.
I'm not picking on karate or anything.
No, karate's cool. I think it's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, you go to karate, you can't go 100% karate strikes with another person, you know, and not have an injury. It's gonna happen, you know. Jiu-jitsu, you're still going to have injuries, but they're not nearly as severe. You're going to have bumps, bruises, but that's why the whole tap-out thing is there, you know. You can get a person in position to, you know, in a submission, and they can just tap. And
when you're tapping out, I mean, for people that don't know or train jiu-jitsu, you're not getting hurt. When you're in a jiu-jitsu class and you're tapping out, like, you're not getting hurt. It's just basically starting over again, right?
Yeah, you just restart and, you know, start back from the feet or in a position or on the ground.
You can die and then come back to life and start over again.
That's right.
Guys, we're going to take a break here pretty quick. Want to give another shout out to our sponsors here at the Spike and Rail in Selma. Guys, if you're driving through the 99 or you just live in Visalia or Fresno and you want to bring your spouse out to a nice dinner, get a nice steak, salmon, salads, nice drinks, cocktails, this is a really great place to come. Mark had some tri-tips today, said it was outstanding.
It was.
And yeah, they got really friendly people here. It's great. Also, our other sponsor, Glepler Communications, guys, for the finest in communications. And also, we got Jeremy Luchow on 559 Fights. They're coming up here. What is their next event? July 13th, guys, at the Stockton Memorial Auditorium. No, that's the 209. Visalia Convention Center, guys. You got anyone fighting on that show?
I'd have to talk to Marty. I don't think we have anyone on that, as far as I know. I may be wrong, because sometimes the guys jump on cards.
The last second?
The last second, so as far as I know right now, I don't think we have anyone on that card. So.
All right, we're going to take a little break here, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, we do like 10, 15 seconds. So,
Okay, how we doing?
And the next one, when you come on, and we can give a shout out for Chris Ronquillo. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I know,
yeah.
I know.
Maybe you've noticed Chris is not with us. Chris took a sick day, or is it
I'll start with that. We'll start with that when we come back right
Start
here.
with that.
Okay.
And yeah, you may have noticed from Chris Ronquillo, and welcome back to the Fight Pass here for the second half. Ready?
Welcome back to Podcastville, guys. The MMA Fight Pass. This is the HammerFist podcast, episode 17. My tongue's all tied up. Still nervous doing this. It's kind of weird being in front of the camera. It is. But no, I'm grateful for this. And guys, you might notice that my partner, Chris Ronquillo, he's out tonight. He's a little under the weather. He wasn't feeling good. But Chris, thank you for letting me take over. Just taking over the ship tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Chris, you're awesome. And I hope you get better. And hopefully you'll be back in next week. But besides that, let us get into a little more Mark De La Cruz here. What do you got coming up, dude? Is there any fighting for you or jiu-jitsu competition in your future?
As far as MMA goes, I'm probably done. You know, I still think about it a lot, but and I've had some people tell me I should go and fight at least one more time because I have
How old are you?
an even record. 43.
Oh, you're still a young buck, bro. 40 is the new 20.
I guess so, huh?
I think 40 is the new 20.
We got, as far as like tournaments go, I just competed this last weekend, and we had a whole team compete over at the Los Angeles International Open. It's like a NABJJF or SJJF tournament, and we did okay. We had a pretty big team, but I think a lot of my students are realizing that they need to play the point game sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, they're hunting for the submission, and you know, that's causing them to lose the match when they could just rack up some points because they're in dominant positions.
You guys going for the kill more?
They're going for the kill, you know,
Which is a good thing.
Which is great. You know, that's what I want them to do. But I tell them, hey, you know, if you're wanting to win the tournament, you're going to have to play the point game a little bit. Let's rack up some points and then look for the kill. So a lot of them are starting to learning that concept, you know, and I think we would have had a better turnout if some of them would have just started to follow that a little bit.
Very good. We are going to be talking to Corey Cass here in just a moment, guys. We got Corey calling in. A lot of you guys know Corey. He's the grappling ex-promoter. He's also he's an ex-MMA pro, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and just an awesome guy.
He's also a former WEC champion.
That's right. Winner by crazy arm lock. Hopefully we're going to get him on here. Tell us a little bit about Corey, bud.
Corey Cass. Corey Cass, excuse me. Called him Casper for a while, right, didn't we?
We got you, bud?
You're going to have to turn that up.
Corey. I guess I don't have him. We'll get him, though.
Anyhow.
Continue, though.
Yeah, so he showed up out of nowhere back in the day, didn't he? He came and showed up at Djibouti when we were at Djibouti.
That's what I was telling people last week. He just came in like a drifting samurai.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did, man. He just showed up. And,
Corey was a blessing to all of our lives.
Yeah, he showed up, and that kid never had his belt with him. You know, I remember that. You know, he always had.
He was
his gi.
kind of just a gi-less MMA grappler.
He just threw the gi on just because
Yeah,
we made him.
I'm gonna get him right here.
And it was kind of funny, you know. And then he just decided to start fighting MMA and started tearing it up, you know. He's a cool cat, though. You getting him online now?
Yeah, we're gonna get him right
Yo, that will probably be better. I don't think the Facebook thing will work that good.
Okay, I got you right here. Can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah.
Corey Cass, you're right here live with Tom Owens and Mark De La Cruz. How you doing, bro?
The two legends of the Central Valley themselves.
Okay. That's right. You heard that right there. The two legends.
Yeah.
That's a nickname.
Legends.
I usually get like some crazy name calling, but I'll take
Oh,
that.
I think I get some name calling too sometimes.
Oh, no.
What's going on, dude?
Just playing around, getting ready for some events coming up, and just having fun.
Corey, It's good to hear you, man. It's really good to hear your voice. We were talking on the last podcast a little bit about you, how we met you, and I can still remember the night in that old Jabushi parking lot. And I talked a little bit how you just came wandering in, like nobody knew where you came from or anything. It was crazy. You just came in out of nowhere, bro. But hey, tell us a little bit about that, dude. What was up with that, man?
Okay, so I got a job, heating and refrigeration job up in that area. And back then, you know, if you wanted to find someone that trains, you would find, you know, someone with a tap out sticker or a shirt. And I was just driving along, and a guy passed me in a big white truck, and he had a tap out sticker. So I pulled up next to him. I was like, well, where do you guys train? And he just took me up to your guys' spot. And, you know, that's how I found it. You know, there was no, we didn't have really the internet and all that stuff. So I just found the guy with the tap out sticker, and he took me to where you guys trained. You know,
so awesome.
That's how it
Dude,
was.
that's the truth of it.
That's
man.
how it used to be.
That's real, though. That was real back then.
No
You know,
one
you
knew-
wanted to train,
no
you
one
found
knew
the
what-
guy that was wearing the stuff.
Nobody knew what that even meant back then.
Hey, and back then,
No, you know, this was, you know, 2001, 2002. And,
Damn,
you know,
that's
I
crazy.
came in there. I was pretty honest with Mike Sir about, you know, how much I trained. And I never had worn a gi ever at that point. He threw me a gi and was like, all right, here's your first match. And his name's Luis, you know, have fun. So that was my
Luis
first time ever
Gonzalez.
rolling.
Speedy Gonzalez.
That was the first time I ever rolled was with Luis in the gi, you know? Hell yeah.
man.
That's crazy, man. Dude, that's,
Yeah, those are
Did you
good
say?
times.
Did you say 2001?
No, it was, you know, I moved up there around 2002.
Yeah, it had to have been
You know, so it was
2002.
mid-2002 when I moved up there.
Golly, time
And I was
flies.
there
That's
for
crazy.
2002 to mid-2003. And
That
then that's when I came back to Southern California after that, you know. So I was
Yeah,
there for exactly 1 year.
you were 1 year. That was it, man. It felt like forever,
Yeah, 1
dude.
year.
But when you came there, now you hadn't been trained in the gi, Corey, but like all of us, we hadn't fought in the cage yet. But it was on all of our minds. And
Yeah.
one thing that
Yeah.
struck me with you, why I connected with you like right away, is you had already had a few cage fights, and you had even
Yeah,
fought.
at that point, I think it doesn't show on my record, but I think at that point I probably had already over 15 of them.
And
You
not
know?
just that, but you had fought like some real. You had took some losses, but you had fought some like real veterans, dude. Like, who were a couple of those?
Well, the sport was different, you know. Because if you wanted to fight, you could just fight as much as you possibly wanted. And so at that point, you know, it was, dude, we were fighting, in that 2 or 3 year period where I was fighting, man, we were cranking out back to back fights. It was so many fights, and that was back when, you know, you didn't weigh in. I kind of make the
You
jokes
didn't weigh
about
in?
it,
You
like,
went in.
no,
Are you
I never
kidding me?
weighed in.
You didn't
No.
weigh in for an MMA fight?
You should have seen
No,
some of
we
this
never
guy's
went in.
matchups,
No.
dude.
It was like, I kind of make the jokes. It's kind of like, you know, the movie Fight Club is like, if you showed up to the rules meeting, then you had to fight, you know. If you listen to the 10th and final rules, this is your first night here, you have to fight. So it was like, you want to fight? Yeah. Oh, you guys were within 50 pounds. That's good enough. You know, that's close enough.
That's funny because you hear
if you
people.
didn't want to fight,
You hear people
then,
crying
you know,
about
they
2
talk shit
pounds
to
and
you.
stuff.
Hey, and here's Joe
You remember,
Stevenson. Here's
like, oh, quit being a pussy. You wanted to fight, you know. So, you know, and so you look like an idiot if you didn't take the fight. You're like, man, I'm gonna get slaughtered, but whatever. Oh well, I got my $50. I got my $50.
That's real too.
That,
$50.
Corey, was that the pay then? $50 a
Oh
fight?
yeah, dude. Even if you got 50, you were doing good. A lot of those
You
fights.
got 50
know?
bucks in a t-shirt.
Oh man, yeah. A t-shirt you had to get back at the end of the night, you know.
Oh man, that's
It
nuts.
was rough. But I had figured out, though, in there that I could make more setting up a booth and selling clothing than fighting. So what I would do is I'd tell people, hey, I'll come to your show down in Mexico and I'll fight for free if you let me set up a clothing booth. So I actually was making more off of selling clothing and gear and stuff than fighting. But I would just go fight because we're going to fight anyways. So that's actually what I would do. So a lot of those fights I fought for free and just would set up my clothing booth and sell,
The businessman.
So yeah.
You've always been an entrepreneur, dude. So now you're not fighting, and you're in the tournament business. You've been in that for some time now. What's going on with that?
Yeah. The tournaments are amazing. I started it because I had my school. I started my school in 2004, and we would take students and we'd go to these random jiu-jitsu tournaments, and we were treated so poorly because we weren't part of their little associations and whatnot. You're not a certified black belt under us. You don't get a coach's pass. And so I just got tired of getting treated bad and getting lied to, so I just started hosting my own events. So I had hosted about 50 in-house events before I started, Grappling X in 2008 and started hosting the bigger events, And then the events actually got really big really fast. So from 2008 to 2010, in 2010 we had over 800 competitors, 700 competitors down in San Diego.
Nice.
And it was going amazing. And then, in 2013, we had our trailer stolen, and so I lost all the tournament equipment. It was parked behind my gym, and one night they just hooked up, pulled up, hooked up the trailer and stole the trailer. So we lost all the mats. We lost everything. It was like $75,000.
Wow.
The insurance, we had 3 different types of insurances. They figured the ways not to cover it. So it actually took me 5 years to be able to raise the money to be able to buy the mats again. So I actually just got all the mats again this year. So you kind of, we restarted basically this year, and it's 10 years of doing Grappling X, and I restarted this year. So
are you doing it by yourself this time?
Yeah, well, it was me really from the beginning. I had the partner, but I funded it. I did everything, and partners are hard. So, I had bought my partner out of my own tournament, and then, it's just me. But, everybody that helps me with the tournament, to me, they are all partners to me, because when we grow this, if it ends up getting as big as I believe it will get, they're all a part of it.
Definitely.
So even though it might not be on paper that but they're part of it 100%. They put as much work and effort in as anybody else or as me,
When's your next event, Corey? In Visalia or the Visalia area?
In Fresno is on the next one in Fresno is September 22nd. We're using it's gi and no gi. We're going to do gi and no gi. We're using this new program, and it's amazing for the bracketing and registration. So in the past, we had issues doing gi and no gi at the same time, but with this new program, we just did it last weekend, and everything worked out amazing.
That's awesome, bro.
So we're going to go back to doing gi and no gi at the same time. We're at a new school in Fresno. We were at Clovis West for, more than 8 years, and now we're going to be at a different school. I actually don't know the name of it right now, but
do you have a website?
That school.
Do you have a website, Corey?
Yeah, grapplingx.com.
Okay, so people can get all the information they want, parents and kids,
correct.
registration, all that?
Everything's up there. On Instagram, it's just Grappling X. On Facebook, it's Grappling X. We're the only tournament that records and posts all the videos for free. So we have almost 15,000 matches on our YouTube channel.
Do you guys do that
And,
live as the tournament's going? People can watch, or is it something you can get on
No,
after?
I don't live stream it because of I want to be able to archive it.
Oh, okay.
So all the videos are archived. So what we do is we record them, and then we put them in playlists. And so you can go after your match, or you can go after the tournament, and go in there. And it takes about a week to get them all up. But we have all the videos from the past 4 years of tournaments in there.
Nice. Are you guys
You
going to
know,
be competing
so-
over there?
Yeah, we always come out
Yeah.
and support Corey all the time, man, as much as we can. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great kids experience, just like his name says in the tournament, grappling experience. You know, it's always good.
Yeah, that's
Good-
what it's about, the experience.
Good
you
tune
know?
up for the bigger tournaments too.
Do you feel like is it more for the kids, or I mean, I'm sure I know it's for everybody, but do you feel like you get more kids than adults?
Well, like, what I feel is we get mainly kids, and then white belts and blue belts is what the main focus is because, you know, for people to get out there and get experience and stuff, because we all know, you know, when you go to, say you go to LA, you know, spend $150 on a single elimination tournament, you go down there and sit there all day and get whooped and then go home. That's kind of a rough deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do this double elimination for, you know, $45. It's amazing for people that are definitely just getting into the sport.
So double
And,
elimination, for people who don't know, if you lose a match, you
Yeah.
can guarantee another match?
Yeah, you get to go again, you know, because a lot of people, you know, it takes some good 5-10 tournaments before you get comfortable out there, get those the
if you
nerves
ever
and the
get
jitters and everything. You know, we're really the only one that's covered Fresno for. Now, we've been coming for 10 years. Our first event in Fresno was July of 2008, you know, when at the Armory. You guys remember that?
I remember you
went
telling me, Corey, but when you first started this tournament, like Corey's main thing was just to keep the Valley in the mix. Like, Corey would come all the way
Yeah.
down here and lose money. He a lot of times would probably lose
Oh,
money.
yeah,
from these
dude, it was
tournaments.
rough, you know. Yeah.
So to make sure that we had a place to get that competition in.
10 years. Think about that. We started in July of 2008. So next month will be the 10th year of coming to Fresno and hosting events. Man, you figure for 10 years doing a minimum of 3 events a year. We've done almost 30 or 40 events in Fresno over the last 10 years.
That's really cool, man.
You know?
I seen something else that you're doing that I find really interesting is you're hooking schools up with seamless mats, which is a new thing.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, seamless mats are really cool. What it is, you know, it's the problem with a lot of mats is whether you get, you know, your tatami, your judo mats and all that, or, you know, puzzle mats, or even the Dolomar rolls and stuff. You end up with that seam, and then when you wash it and stuff, the water goes down in it. And then especially the rolls and stuff, you always got to do maintenance, whether you're changing tape and all that stuff. So it took me probably 5 years to figure out how to tighten the vinyl so that
Have you
it's like
tried?
glass.
Yeah, I
So
actually.
it's kind of more of a service to the community to be able for people to have these mats that are basically maintenance free. And
I
you
saw
don't have to sit there and
one
fiddle
that he
with
did
it.
for Matt Smith. He did you did a
Yeah.
seamless one for Matt Smith. I got to check that out. I saw you. I was there picking some things up, and you were
Yeah.
tightening up the vinyl over there. Man, that thing looked beautiful, man. It's a really nice look on top of it being, you know, more.
Yeah, it's crazy how when you get them to look good, you know, when you get them tight, how good they look and stuff. And
That's
it's cool
awesome,
because
Corey.
it pretty much lasts forever. The colors and all that stuff, you can do multiple colors. So, you know, I do that just because it's
For Corey?
almost impossible for a lot of these gyms to make money. So,
Hey,
be able to
Corey,
help people out.
Corey, we got a question from one of
Viewers.
our thousands of viewers.
Yes,
Okay, let's see. What do we got, sir?
It says, what's the
this should be good.
What's the most satisfying MMA fight you won?
Oh, what's the most satisfying MMA fight that you won?
Chad Washburn down in Mexico. The reason why is because
I remember that.
a lot of it was such a hard time because when I started fighting, I was getting mismatched so bad. You know, I was 140 pounds and fighting 185-pound monsters and all these different people. I don't remember which fight it was, probably the 12th or 13th, 14th fight. And, you know, I went to Monterrey, Mexico by myself. And the reason why that one is because everybody's like, oh, he's going to smash you. You have no business fighting him. And on the plane ride down, we actually sat side by side. And he was like, hey, do you want to just do a ground fight? And I was like, why? It's an MMA fight. And I'm like, well, we'll just see how the fight plays out. So he actually pulled guard on me. And normally I like to slam people, but I just nicely sat him down. And he went triangle omoplata. And then I stood up and I hit him like the Fedor punches and knocked him out. And that was the changing point in my career where I was like, oh, I can actually fight. I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
Hey,
so
guess you know what? You know what helped you with that fight? Because I remember that. I remember when you had told me all about. You know what helped you with that fight is you were training with the two legends, dude.
The two legends and going running at you know, actually the best fight I ever had was going up to Sequoia National Park and running with you guys.
With Master Owens
that was
right there.
He trying to keep up with the gazelle.
With a bunch of guys that were
through the
smoking weed
bushes.
and running in the mountains.
Oh my
Wasn't
gosh,
me.
dude.
That wasn't me. Hey, Corey.
So, yeah.
Thank you for calling in. We're gonna have to close it up. Hey man, I love you, bro, and I'm really glad that you called in. I'm happy for you. Can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for everybody around here, bro.
Perfect. Thank you guys, and see you guys soon.
Good talking to you, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get you in here when you come down for the tournament, buddy.
Yeah, I'll just come in there and we'll sit down and do a long one.
All right, thank you very much, Corey. You have a good night, bro. Good, and I hope your family's doing well. Thank you. That was Corey Cass, the legend right there. That's the real legend right there, Corey. And we got a few minutes left here. We got Mark in here. We got a little bit more to talk about. I know there's a lot of people out there. I covered it a little while ago that are wanting to train because I always have people hitting me up for their kids and adults that just want to get into something. How can people get going, Mark?
You know, we offer a free trial. If you mention this podcast, we can extend a free week trial. You have to mention this podcast though, and we can get you a whole week of free training to try out any martial art you want that we offer, as far as Muay Thai for the adults or the kids, and then Jiu-Jitsu as far as the adults and kids, or the MMA if you want to try that route.
Now, when they sign up, it's at the Get Fit Republic. We explained that. Do they have to be? Do they have to get? I mean, people go in there and they see the weights and everything. It's in a weightlifting gym. Do they have to be a part
It's a corporate gym setting. They walk in, they just tell them what they're there for, and they'll fill out a waiver, an electronic waiver, and then they'll point them our direction, and then they'll go into our area, and then that's that. You know, just got to show up a little bit early. They can contact Fit Republic by Googling them and getting our schedule of classes from them for the times. And then, like I said, just mention this podcast and mention my name. They'll confirm with me, and then you'll get your free week trial if you guys are, for new members, of course, One thing I wanted to bring up though is, we're having a seminar over at our headquarters school, Dan Camarillo School in Bakersfield. A real jiu-jitsu legend, Mackenzie Dern's father, Megaton Diaz. The guy is in his late 40s.
A real legend in the sport.
He's been competing at the IBJJF World's Jiu-Jitsu Tournament ever since they've been in the States. He competes in the adult division, even though he's in the Masters, and still takes first.
Does he do the adult division?
Yes, he does.
That's crazy.
I think he's done every
That's
single
legit.
one. Yeah,
that is super legit.
Yeah, and
his daughter, guys, if you don't know Mackenzie Dern, she's a UFC fighter right now.
Yeah, she's 2-0.
Yeah, she's a prospect. Like, she's no joke. She's something to look for. But so when is that going to be?
The date on that, and I'll give you that information. Just give me 1 second. I believe it's July 14th, and it's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and the address is 811 19th Street, Bakersfield. It's $100 for the non-affiliates and $75 for the affiliates, and then you can make your payment to set up the seminar on PayPal. Just go to type in Taken Arms, and that'd be.
Is it open to any school?
Yeah,
Anybody that wants
open to
go?
any academy, any school. The PayPal address or the email is tknarmz@armhunter.com.
Armhunter.com,
Yeah,
guys.
that's Dan's email. You can pay on his PayPal for the tournament, and then in the notes, just put there it's for the Megaton Diaz seminar. Again, that's going to be July 14th, 10 a.m. to 1. That guy is a multiple world champion competitor, and Dan used to compete with him when they were younger. They used to compete against each other. I believe he's the only one, or I shouldn't say the only one of the few that have beat Dan in a jiu-jitsu tournament, I believe. That guy is pretty awesome. So that'd be a great opportunity for people in the area to go check it out.
Unlimited knowledge right there.
Oh yeah, it'd be an awesome seminar. I know I'm going to be there, so I'm not going to miss that.
And that'll probably sell out pretty quick, guys. So if you're interested in that, get in there. Now, you're so lucky to be, in my opinion, Dan and Dave Camarillo. They're like two of my heroes when it comes to jiu-jitsu. When I was starting out in jiu-jitsu and competing, like I modeled my game really a lot after Dan and Dave, and me and my brother would videotape all their matches. We would travel tournaments just so I could videotape Dan and Dave, and sometimes the matches would only last seconds, and we would just take that footage and bring it back to Djibouti, and a lot of the stuff that I was bringing back was from those guys. And man, you're just so lucky to be able to train with Dan, bro. Like, I envy you. Like, that's pretty much having a seminar every time you go train with that guy, man.
Yeah, well, you can come try and train.
I know, I know. I'm welcome too.
Yeah, and Dan will be coming up to teach again at our academy soon, so. And our doors are always open for any academy that wants to come in and stop in and get some training in. We don't close our doors to anyone, so. What
do you think about that, Mark? Like, loyalty to me is a big thing, but when I was coming up, and even still now, like, I feel like I should, as a martial artist, I feel like I should be able to go to any gym or any school and train with anybody and have an open mind and learn, you know what I mean? But I'll always stay loyal to my people. What do you think about that? People going around and training with different people?
I think, just know your roots and you got to make sure you know what people need to know what team you're representing.
Can it be a bad thing though? Can it be a bad thing?
It can go bad. There are people. I know some people who have switched gyms multiple times. And not just coming up through the ranks. Just keep switching gyms. Now I understand if you're moving, that makes complete sense. That you have to. You're forced into that position. But I think if you cross train, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you know where your home is there's nothing wrong with it, because essentially, if you're learning from someone else, they're probably learning something from you as well. Especially at the higher levels.
Definitely.
And that's what it's all about.
So you're under Dan, but will you still go if you're in San Francisco or in another city? You'll pop into other gyms?
Yeah, recently I was down south. I trained at Sean Fowler's gym. Nice guy. He used to be with Corey doing Grappling X. I trained with him there. I'll go every once in a while. It's been a while since I've been up in Fresno. I was training over at the PMA every once in a long while. I'd stop in there. I haven't been up there in a while. I've been at Halo a couple times. Really nice guys. I've been to Combat Base in Visalia. Those guys come and train with me sometimes. They're an awesome group of people. They're under Chris Howder. He's a legend himself. He's one of the first 12 Americans to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And it's funny, he has a really cool saying too. It's all these legends, they all have their own saying. Dave's got train with everyone. And
what does Chris say?
Chris. Well, I think Dave has more than one, but Chris Howder always says, he has a lot too. They all have multiple things, but one that always sticks in my mind, one that he said that really sticks in my mind is, it's not who's best. It's not about who's best. It's about who's left.
And that is very true right there.
Yeah.
That's very true. I've seen a lot of people come and go.
Yeah, so that always stuck with me when I got to train in his garage quite a few times. And
You trained at the original garage?
Chris Howder's garage.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an honor.
Yeah, you know what's
That's
really
an
cool
honor
about
right
that? You know
there,
what's
bro.
really cool about that is training over there is he did something which was really which is something I actually want to do at my gym. So what they would do is when they were training, they'd be in his backyard in his garage, you know.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the first time that I went there, I swear I thought I was being set up. Like to get whacked like in the mafia or something, dude. Yeah, I got there and there was like all these black belts there, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, you know, I was brown belt at the time,
Yeah.
you know, and I think there were like maybe one blue belt and like all black belts and a brown belt, and then just myself, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here, you know? But it was really cool, man. He sets up a chess, like a chessboard. And so if you're taking a round out from rolling, you're playing a speed chess for the round.
Oh, wow.
So it keeps your mind active, and then you're getting back into the on the mat and going back to rolling. So you're sitting there
wild.
pouring in sweat
Yeah.
and playing chess with a guy,
That's really smart,
mentally playing the game, you know, and then going right back into the mat.
I like
And
the sound of that.
I got to do that one time when
Yeah.
they were doing that. I don't think they do it every time, but
That's a little special.
but I got to
training.
do that, and man, you know, it definitely, it was something different, and I really liked it, and I think that's something I may adopt, you know, at our comp class that we do on Saturday mornings at, you know, over at Vitruvian Martial Arts, so I think that would be fun. Of course, you need to know how to play chess first, but, you know.
That's
that might
great.
help.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're getting here to the end of it, guys. What, we got a couple minutes left here? Before I close it up,
You want to get into the MMA stuff?
you know what? We just flew through this, man. We got a couple minutes left, though. Yeah, we'll get back into the MMA. We'll have Mark back again too. But guys, I'm gonna get off the subject for a second. Today's my 10-year anniversary with my wife, and if anybody knows about relationships, yeah, I think I'm maybe like a blue belt 4-striper right now with the 10 years. But anyhow, I love my wife very much, man. Like she's my better half, and 10 years was no joke. There's been a lot of ups and downs. And if you ever need relationship advice, don't ask me. I'm not the guy. But anyhow, I love you, wifey. You're my girl. Another thanks to Spike and Rail. Very good food here. Come in and get that tri-tip, get the discount, mention the podcast, HammerFist Podcast, and you'll get a discount, 50%, I believe. Come try a class with us at Vitruvian Martial Arts. Or if you're in Bakersfield, try Dan Camarillo, one of the best that there is out there. And another thanks to 559 Fights, Jeremy Luchel. You guys come down. What do we got here? Visalia Convention Center, July 13th, if you want to see some guys get punched in the face, maybe choked out or something like that. Anything else, Mark, before we call this quits? Chris Ronquillo, I love you, bro. And thank you for letting me take the wheel again tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I just not much else besides, you know, come try out a class, free trial. Just remember, mention the Fight Pass live podcast, and we'll get you a free week of training.
And don't be nervous, guys. Go in there, man. Like, everybody's super cool. Even if you don't go down to Mark's and you want to do martial arts, go down to Elite, go to Halo, go to any of these places, wherever you're at, man.
PMA, you know,
Yeah,
hey, I just
PMA.
want to give a shout out to Matt Smith for plugging me in with Fit Republic. Matt Smith, thank
Matt
you very
Smith
much,
is
man.
awesome.
You really threw an opportunity our way to me and Rodney to get some growth in our school and some opportunity. And so, Matt Smith, I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your help and your continued support. Much appreciated, brother.
Matt Smith is awesome. He was a main part of my jiu-jitsu foundation from the beginning. But yeah, so thank you guys very much. This was a pretty successful episode, I think. What was this? Episode 17. Thank you very much, Mark.
Awesome. Thank
I
you for
love you,
having me.
brother.
Appreciate it.
Yep. And guys, remember, you can choose love or you can choose hate in this life. Make the right choice. Choose love.
See you on the mats. Awesome. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Mark.
Awesome.
You're good, dude. Mark, you're good, man. You got my job, bro.